recognized symbol of excellence for your entertainment.
Hit it, CC.
Welcome to Machino Music Music, the show that puts some music in Machino music, with your host, me, Brett Strong. Today on Machino Music Music, it's part one of my 20 favorite hair metal albums, glam metal, whatever you want to call it. Come on, feel the noise. Good afternoon, everybody. My 20 favorite hair metal albums, that's what we're doing here today. Around this time last year, I did my 20 favorite heavy metal albums. But this is strictly hair metal, specifically hair metal. And we're using the term hair metal as opposed to glam metal, or maybe like pop metal I could have called it. But we're using hair metal because, you know, the hair is the most distinguishing characteristic of this style of music. I mean, the hair, that's what you see first. I mean, there's a Sirius satellite radio station called Hair Nation. So people use it. It's considered derogatory, but whatever. We're going with hair because, again, the hair is what you see. One album per band. These are not ranked in any particular way, so the positions don't matter. And be like, oh, yeah, I can't believe you put this album ahead of this album. What do you know? It doesn't matter. It really just gives me an excuse more than anything to talk about some of these albums and to talk about some more heavy metal. So let's get into it here, starting with really the album that kind of kicked off the whole thing. You really get down to it. The first heavy metal album to go to #1 on the Billboard charts, Quiet Riot, Metal Health. Yeah. Kevin Dubrow, Frankie Banali, Carlos Cavazo, and Rudy Sarzo. That's the lineup on this band. Yeah, this one, I believe it knocked Thriller out of the #1 spot. This just changed everything. Made heavy. Wait, what's this heavy metal I hear so much about? And it was really kind of made heavy metal become the music of the 80s. I mean, everything was new wave. The new waves kind of started dying out by this point because, you know, it became all about heavy metal. Really post this album. That became the new thing. But great songs on here. The title track, great. Of course, Come On, Feel the Noise. Originally done by the band Slade. They were not big over here, not big in North America. Quiet Riot does a cover. Biggest thing. Yeah. That's the only reason anybody knows Slade today is because of Quiet Riot. My favorite song on the album, Run for Cover, so good. My favorite Quiet Riot song. Yeah, dig it. Good album. Very important album, very influential. Next we're going Slaughter, Stick It To Ya. Mark Slaughter, there he is right there, the namesake of the band. There's another band called Slaughter. I believe they're Canadian, I'm not sure, but they're like a thrash metal band. But this is a Slaughter. When you say Slaughter, this is who people think of. Because this band was pretty big for a while. Also have Dana Strum, who is believed to have been the guitar clerk in Wayne's World, the guy who says,
Can I put the fender back now, please?
He's believed to be, but he's not. He's a guy who kind of looked like him. But kicking it off, Eye to Eye, great song, really good. Up All Night was the big hit. Desperately. Man, that song, I'm telling you, that song, it's so catchy. That's what I think with hair metal. Whether you like it or not, whatever, like, it's catchy songs. They get stuck in your head. That one's such an earworm. I get that one stuck in my head so much. That was the thing with the style of heavy metal. It's hair metal, pop metal, glam metal, whatever you want to call it. They were basically pop songs with heavy, loud guitars. And I just love that song desperately. I could just listen to that song over and over, never get tired of it. Great record. Very underrated. I was happy I was able to find a copy of this. It's very hard to find. Very sexist album cover there. But hey, that was another thing about this style of heavy metal. Let's just put girls in positions that, would be politically incorrect through a 2024 lens. So, yeah. Slaughter, stick it to you. Next, Aerosmith, Permanent Vacation. This was Aerosmith getting on the heavy metal or hair metal train. They kind of had to do it. Because never the Aerosmith were ever really a heavy metal band. They were definitely an influence on a lot of heavy metal bands, especially of this style. But this was their take on it. And this is a great album. Of course, Dude Looks Like a Lady was the massive hit, which I believe was written about Vince Neil. I mean, you look at Vince Neil on all those pictures in the 80s, yeah, Dude Looks Like a Lady. Ragdoll was another big hit. Really cool, always loved Ragdoll. Angel was the big ballad off of here. People dumped on Aerosmith for these ballads, like bringing in outside writers, whatever. Great written songs, though. I like Angel. It's a good tune. Heart's Done Time? Yeah. Some great deep cuts on here, actually. St. John, Hangman Jury, the movie. Movie's so good. The title track is good. Girl Keeps Coming Apart, yeah. Forget the hits. There's some great deep cuts in here. I know people dump on a lot of the 80s Aerosmith. This was right after they got their big career resurgence thanks to their collaboration with Run DMC, who covered Walk This Way because, that's a great hip-hop groove right there. And yeah, they just got a big career resurgence. This was a record they made right after that. Say what you want about it. This is a great album. And yeah, it was their most sort of hair metal album, I guess you could say. So that's why I included it. Aerosmith, Permanent Vacation. Next, I've got to have this one. Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet. Talked a lot about this record. I've done some Bon Jovi shows. But it's just a classic. I mean, if you're going to call Bon Jovi heavy metal, this is the album you do it on. Because, I mean, this was their big hair album. And look at the hair. Big hair. Let It Rock kicking it off. Great tune. Dig it. Of course, You Give Love a Bad Name. Living on a Prayer. Great tunes. Social Disease. Great song. Wanted Dead or Alive, of course. Raise Your Hands. Man, that's a party anthem right there. That's a song that really kind of got me into Bon Jovi and this album. So good. Without Love, great ballad. Yeah. Some great tunes on here. Have to include this one in the conversation, whether you call Bon Jovi metal. They were for a time, and it was because of this album. And apparently Beethoven liked this album, if you believe the history from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Beethoven's favorite works include Mozart's Requiem, Handel's Messiah, and Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet.
Alright, next I'm going Doro, Force Majeure. It's a Doro plus Warlock. She was in the band Warlock, one of my favorite heavy metal bands. Very underrated. Nobody talks about Warlock. Very obscure band. But this is Doro solo, and this is kind of her first solo album, so they kind of come plus Warlock, so you don't get it mixed up. Like, well, okay, whatever. Warlock were not really a huge band to begin with, so yeah. But this was kind of her most hair metal, and she's a real metal queen right now. Come on, not Lee Aaron. Yeah, not her. Doro Pesh is the metal queen. This is a great record. A Whiter Shade of Pale, or Procol Harum cover. Love that. The vocals, so good. I just remember you should listen to that song on repeat. It's such a great cover. Save My Soul, good. World Gone Wild. Beyond the Trees, nice little beautiful ballad. Got a good one. Hellraiser's really cool. I Am What I Am. Under the Gun, great riff on that song. When Dora went solo, she did kind of go more in the hair metal direction. Although the song All We Are from Triumph and Agony, that's a hair metal song. Come on. It's almost hair metal. It's a hair metal anthem. But this is her kind of really going in that direction. And I just wanted to include this album. Want to talk about, gives me an excuse to talk about Doro and this great record. Underrated. So dig that one. All right, next we're going Extreme Pornography. Yeah, this was a huge album, mainly because of the one song, More Than Words, which is a huge song. I mean, you still hear that song on the radio today. You still hear that song. That's when people think of Extreme, they think of that song. But I don't think people realized at the time that they were like a heavy metal band. And, you know, as if the title of the album being Pornography is not a dead giveaway. Pornography? Come on. Richard Marx is not releasing albums called Pornography. So, yeah, I don't know what people were thinking. But anyway, forget the hits, because Wholehearted was also another hit from this album. Forget those. There's some great tunes on here, some great heavy tunes. Decadence Dance, so good. When I'm President, which is kind of a fun, like a really fun song. It's kind of got a bit of a rap on it.
I remember it well. I was just about to.
And it's sort of based around the Dana Carvey impression of George H.W. Bush that he was doing on Saturday Night Live at the time.
Not gonna do it.
Not gonna.
Yeah. But it's a fun song. It's really goofy, but it's fun. Get the Funk Out. The title track is great. Some awesome guitar player. Nuno Bettencourt ripping it up on that song. Heavy riff. Love the guitar solo. One of my favorite guitar solos of all time. So good. Dig it. Susie Wants Her All Day What? Susie Wants Her All Day Sucker is what it is. That's what her what is. And guess what the sucker refers to? Yeah, very naughty song. Used to play that on my radio show. Yeah, dig it. Great album. Known for just one song, but forget those. And I like this too, because this is when Extreme sort of really started becoming their own thing. They weren't kind of like copying Van Halen as much as they were doing on their first album. This is Extreme kind of more coming into their own, which I really like too. So yeah, Extreme Pornography. This is an interesting one. I thought I'd include it. AC/DC, Fly on the Wall. If you're going to put an AC/DC album as a hair metal album, and if you're going to call AC/DC a hair metal band at all, really, this I think is their most sort of metal album. I mean, Back in Black definitely is more of a kind of metal album. It's considered one of the first great heavy metal albums, especially of the new wave of British heavy metal. 1980, big year for heavy metal. But I think this one, you know, is kind of AC/DC most metal album. It's pretty heavy, and it's kind of hair metal-y at the same time. Shake Your Foundations. If that's not a hair metal song, I don't know what is. Great tune. Title track's great. Sink the Pink, another fun one. Playing with Girls, one of my favorite AC/DC songs. That one's so heavy. So good. Back in Business is great. Yeah. Great record. Really not a sinker in the ball on this one. I know this one is considered like a bad album. A lot of people don't like the production on this album. I've heard a lot. It's been often poo-pooed. Angus and Malcolm Young produced this album themselves. So yeah, I've heard that this is like not really a favorite. A lot of AC/DC fans, they say it was one of their worst records. But, you know, I never really noticed the sort of muddy production. And another criticism is that Brian Johnson sounds like he's singing in another room. Which, okay, maybe kind of sounds, but I never really noticed that stuff on this album. Maybe because I've only kind of known the CD, so maybe on the original vinyl, maybe on the original cassette it sounded like that, but I've never noticed it because I was only listening to this like remastered CD. So I dig this record, whether people, you poo-pooed or not. Good record. I thought I'd include it because, it's AC/DC doing hair metal, basically. All right, next we're going Poison, Look What the Cat Dragged In. We're right in the glam here. I mean, look at this. Look at this album cover. This turned a lot of people off. They're like basically a full drag here. Now, I'm a drag queen, so of course it doesn't bother me. But I still held off on getting this album for a while. Because, I mean, this is like, whoa, okay. The whole glam thing, and this is a bit extreme. This is going a bit too far. And I can understand. I can understand people being turned off by this album cover. Like I said, I held off on getting this album for a while because it's kind of like, whoa, what the hell? But for a lot of people, I'm sure they were like, I think it moved. They couldn't deal with it. But, good album. Some great tunes on here. I Want Action, which actually should have kicked off the album. Cry Tough is a good song, but I don't know. I never really liked it as an album opener. I Want Action, I think, should have kicked it off. Or at least Talk Dirty to Me. Good tune.
Real metal bands kind of sang about aggression and fighting and the dark side, Talk Dirty to Me, come on.
The title track is great. Actually, kick it off with that. That's a great song. Look What the Cat Dragged In. Want Some, Need Some, my favorite song in the album. Heavy, good tune, dig that one. Blame It On You's good. Yeah, good record. Poison were kind of like, they were the quintessential kind of, at least glam band, if you're going to call them that. But, they had the hair too. Look at the hair. They got some pretty big hair there. But just, I can understand where people be going like, the hell is this? Look What the Cat Dragged In, indeed. Bunch of dudes in makeup. It's kind of what it was all about. But yeah, good album anyway. Alright, next I'm going Scorpions, Love at First Sting.
Stinging, stinging, stinging.
This was kind of their hair metal album. I mean, I wouldn't really call Scorpions a hair metal band per se. I mean, definitely they're a 70s stuff. They were more just a straight, just heavy metal band, like early heavy metal band. But they went full hair on here. I mean, look at them on the back there. They got some big hair. Yeah. But some big tunes on here. Rock You Like a Hurricane, of course. That's a hair metal anthem. Heavy metal anthem, but you can put it in with hair metal. Why not? Bad Boys Running Wild, kicking it off. Good tune. I'm Leaving You. Oh, my favorite song on the album. Probably my favorite Scorpion song. I love that riff. Love the drums on it. Such a great tune. Big City Nights. Crossfire. Yeah, some really good tunes on here. Wanted to include this one. I mean, what else am I going to talk about? Scorpions. Love at First Sting. I love Blackout. It's one of my favorite Scorpions. But this one, to change it up from my favorite heavy metal, straight heavy metal albums, I thought I'd include Scorpions, Love at First Sting. And, of course, you all know what I'm pointing at. Scorpions known for that, too. Those album covers with beautiful women. Because Hermann Z. German, Klaus Meine, Rudolf Schenker, they're these like strangers in a strange land. They come to America, see all these beautiful women. That's what the Scorpions basically became at this time. They fit right in with the hair metal scene, let me tell you. Now, closing out 20 through 11, I'm going to go Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry. And also, this is why I didn't want to use necessarily the term glam metal, because as Dee Snider always said, I mean, look at us. We should be called HID because we're hideous. And also, they were not from Los Angeles and didn't start out in that scene. They were from New York, but definitely embraced the whole glam thing and became like the big hair band. Because look at the hair. Look at the hair on Dee Snider. They all are in there. They all have pretty big hair. But this is a great record. We're Not Gonna Take It, of course, was the big, huge hit. I Wanna Rock. But some of the deep cuts on here. I mean, the title track is great. Dedicated to Arnold Schwarzenegger. There you go. The Price, love The Price, Don't Let Me Down, The Beast, SMF. And if you don't know what SMF stands for.
And what does SMF stand for when it's spelled out?
It stands for the Sick Motherfucking Friends of Twisted Sister.
Yeah, now you know. But my favorite song that gives me an opportunity to talk about this again. Not just my favorite Twisted Sister song, not just my favorite song on this album, but one of my favorite heavy metal songs of all time. My favorite heavy metal song ever. Burn in Hell. Just love that song. And actually, I just recently read the story of how that song ended up in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Paul Rubens was a fan of Twisted Sister. He was a fan of this album. And he'd heard that Twisted Sister were going to be in town in LA where they were filming the movie. And he, got a decent, hey, would you like to do a cameo in my movie, Pee-wee's Big Adventure? And of course, Dee Snider was a fan of Pee-wee Herman, Paul Rubens. So he's like, yeah, what song do you want to use? You want to use, and he thought, We're Not Gonna Take It, I Want to Rock, one of the big hits. He said, no, Burn in Hell. So that's how Burn in Hell ended up in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. So cool. They were mutual fans of each other. Two legends, two of my heroes. So that's just great. The heartwarming story for some. Oh, dig it. But yeah, Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry had to be on here because it's just such a fantastic record. So there you go. That's 20 through 11. Next week will be the top 10. That's it for this week. Until we meet again, this is Brett Strong saying good journey.